YouTube, what's up everybody? How's everybody doing this week? We are getting ready for week 3 in the NFL. Week 2 was just full of excitement. We're going to change things up a little bit. We're not going to do a full rundown every week. I'm going to pick 5 games that I'm super high on and do a rundown of some of the big stories I think coming out of week 2 as we head into week 3, and use that as kind of our summary format going forward. And I want to start with the Chargers and the Cowboys. Cowboys offense, I was shocked to see just kind of got bogged down a little bit against that Chargers defense. The return of Derwin James has certainly been missed by the Chargers. Rookie Asante Samuel looked phenomenal. But what I thought was really interesting out of that game, more so than the Dallas offense kind of sputtering, was how about the Dallas defense finding playmakers? I know they're not world beaters. They're not going to be this year. But putting Micah Parsons at D-end, he gave Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense a lot to worry about. Had a sack, a lot of pass rush. That Chargers, the right side of that offensive line with Brian Bulaga going down, Justin Herbert took a lot of hits last year. They went out, they addressed the offensive line in the offseason with Lindsey at center. They went out, they got Rashawn Slater in the first round of the draft. But that right side is leaky. And that leakiness could ultimately cost the Chargers their playoff spot. I'm really down on San Diego. The LA Chargers. I'm still getting used to that. But what I'm watching here now is with the leaky side of the right side of their offensive line, is that going to slow their offense down just enough? This defense is not a shutdown defense. It's also a playmaking defense. And with Denver rising and the Raiders rising, Chargers find themselves on the outside looking in if they can't shore up that offensive line. So it's something to watch. On the flip side, Dallas, with Philadelphia, even though they lost the 49ers, still playing tough. I really can't wait for Monday night. We're going to find a whole lot more about the NFC East race when we see the outcome of that Dallas-Philadelphia game. Really excited for that one. The next one, Tampa Bay-Atlanta, I was shocked. Okay, now Tampa was my lock to cover last week, and they did. But they didn't cover because they blew the doors off the Falcons. Falcons were in this game. For those of you that didn't see it, the score was not indicative of how close that game was. A couple of interception return for touchdowns at the end of the game by that Tampa defense really blew the doors open. Tampa's offense looks phenomenal. Tom Brady, that offense, are firing all cylinders. I fully expect that to continue barring injury. But this defense, it's almost like they're on Super Bowl hangover, and it's a Todd Bowles coach defense. All the starters are back. Their first-round pick, another pass rusher. This is a good defense. It's got a lot of playmakers. I'm shocked to see how leaky the defense is. Really watching to see if they get that cleaned up this week. They're playing the Rams. This is a big test for the Bucs. Something to watch. Next thing, Carolina Panthers. I'm really excited for tonight too, guys, because Carolina is going to really give Tampa Bay something to watch. Maybe not now, maybe not even this year, but the way that their roster is set up, this defense is young and it's really good. And one of the big offseason additions that not a lot of people talked about was the Cardinals passed on bringing back Hassan Reddick. Okay, and Carolina picked him up for a 1-year deal, $8 million. Guy had almost 13 sacks last year, right? And even though the Cardinals got a great pass rush, you don't just want to let young pass rushers go. Carolina gets him, adds him to that young defensive front. Remember, they spent their first-round pick on J.C. Horn. Now they got a quarterback who's efficient and talented. Carolina looks good. Again, they've also got an offensive line issue. It's young. It's not great. But Carolina is going to be a very interesting team to keep an eye on. Could really make an NFC push here. Green Bay. Look, guys, I don't know about anybody you. I wasn't impressed. Okay, number one, Green Bay's defense is not physical. They have no pass rush without Zadarius Smith. They're saying he could be out well into October. Okay. Eventually, no pass rush, that defense is going to get sliced apart. And guess what? The Lions were in this game. Okay, the Lions were in this game. When Green Bay starts playing real teams, they play the 49ers this week. We're going to find out exactly what Green Bay is capable of doing. Look, I know Aaron Rodgers threw 4 touchdown passes, threw a bunch of them to Aaron Jones, but that offensive line is really, really frail. Again, they still don't have David Bakhtiari. They lost Philip Lindsay, the number 1 graded center in the NFL, to free agency. I am still convinced that Green Bay is not going to win this division. I want to see if they can start putting it together consistently against better competition. We'll find out more, but watch Green Bay this weekend. I'm telling you right now, I still like Minnesota to win this division. And last, the one I'm super excited about is how exciting are the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know if you've been watching these guys, but this reminds me of when the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes stormed onto the scene a few years ago. Now they've got Rondale Moore from Purdue. I loved that pick in the second round. Adds that extra layer of explosiveness to go with Christian Kirk, to go with DeAndre Hopkins. And Kyler Murray is just firing all cylinders. He's throwing from outside the pocket. He's throwing off balance. And the great thing is, too, is this Arizona Cardinals defense, again, not a defense that's going to completely lock you down, but they've got so many explosive defensive playmakers all over the field. They've got a great pass rush. This is going to be super exciting to watch the Cardinals because, again, you look at that division with the Rams and the 49ers and the Seahawks. Wait till all those teams get locking up in the middle part of the year. I'm really excited to see how Arizona does against the best division in football. A lot of people are telling me that they might be the fourth best team in that division. I don't believe it. I think that they might ultimately find themselves in the wild card. Watch out for Arizona. So as we come into week 3, 5 games that I really want to watch and the 5 picks that I have this week. First off, we've got Arizona, who I just spoke about, going on the road to Jacksonville. 9.5-point spread. It's a lot. It's an NFL game on the road, coming off a big win. You're going cross country. A lot of times, typically, West Coast teams flying all the way out east, they struggle. I don't believe it. I think Jacksonville's way overmatched. I like the Cardinals to cover. I give the 9.5 points, and I'm taking Arizona big over Jacksonville. Indy at Tennessee. Again, a matchup I'm really interested in. Remember, Tennessee was my pick for the AFC South, right? And I was on watch for them this past weekend going to Seattle. Would they start 0-2? And they did not. They went in, got a big win in overtime against Seattle. I think with Carson Wentz down and Tennessee starting to, pick up steam a little bit in terms of hand the ball to Derrick Henry. Julio Jones had a really big game. I look for Tennessee to win, and I look for Tennessee to cover. I give the 5. I take Tennessee at home against Indy. Next up, and this is one Vegas obviously knows something I don't because I'm absolutely shocked, is Baltimore at Detroit, a 3.5-point spread. I mean, I must be missing something here, guys. But again, I know Detroit is a much better team than historically maybe they've been in the past. They're rock solid across the offensive line. But again, they're just way overmatched. Detroit is not ready for prime time yet. They played tough with Green Bay. They played tough at the end with the 49ers. Baltimore is flying high after that big win with Kansas City. So obviously Vegas knows something I don't, but still I'm going Baltimore with the straight up win. Something maybe crazy might happen, but they go into Detroit, they get it done. Chicago 3.5 at Cleveland. Well, this is the Justin Fields era. And of course, Chicago gets blessed with the soft landing, right? Andy Dalton gets injured. Now you can put Justin Fields in. If he doesn't do so well, you can always say, well, he went in because he was injured. I don't believe that for a second. If Matt Nagy really wants to keep his job, Matt Nagy needs to make it work with Justin Fields now. Bears fans are not patient. I don't believe Bears ownership is patient. I think that'd be foolish to get rid of Matt Nagy, but they better pull it off. Cleveland, I believe, is still sort of trying to look for a big bounce back after that really sour loss they had early on week 1 to Kansas City. I think that the Bears go in 3.5-point favorites to Cleveland, and I think Cleveland, I'll take the points, Cleveland, for the straight-up win against Chicago. And last, the Jets at Denver. Again, this must be something where Vegas knows something that I don't. But the Denver Broncos have won their first 2 games of the season on the road by double digits, okay? The Jets might be, aside from Jacksonville, it's close, the worst team in football. And Denver's going home in the altitude. They're hitting on all cylinders. They've got their pass rush back. They've got the offense inefficient. They don't turn the ball over. Against Zach Wilson, who just turned the ball over 4 times, going into Denver, mile high, that crowd, Denver only by 7.5. I give the points. I take the Broncos to win and win big over the Jets. And those are my 5 games I'm watching this week, guys. Again, there's a lot of great matchups. I think that week 2 really set the stage for some really interesting stuff moving forward as we start to ramp up divisional play. I'll be back after the games this week, and we'll talk more and see how my picks did. Thanks, y'all.